Chris Russo joins me now here, and you're always so generous with your time. I super appreciate it. Good to see you.
Hello, Suzy. How you doing?
I'm awesome. I'm really good. My kid hit her first three-pointer over the weekend, so I'm riding on that.
Good for you.
I'm just saying that these are my priorities in life, okay? These are my priorities.
Absolutely.
What do you think? Should we talk baseball first or basketball? What do you want to talk about?
Well, both are important. Probably the NBA because, you probably will have two good conference finals. I would think that top of my head, I like the Knicks and OKC. I like the Knicks in 7. I don't think Indiana will win a game 7 on the road again. I think that'll be a very competitive series. I would not be shocked if Pacers won. They don't like each other. I think that's a hell of a series. I think OKC got out of that Denver series. They had to play a 7th game, some pressure on them. I think, although Minnesota's very good, I think OKC will win that series. I think that series will be a long one, too. I'm going to say Pacers in 6. So I think Pacers, Thunder in 6. So I'll say Thunder, Knicks in the final.
Wow, I love it. If you're going to build a team, do you take Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or do you take Anthony Edwards?
I was just thinking about that. I think that's the combination everybody's going to discuss. 2 young stars. I would take SGA. I think he's got a little bit more to his game. I think if Edwards doesn't score, I think he's a better closer. But if he doesn't score, he may not be as effective. I think, and I got to see a little more, especially of SGA. We've seen Edwards play plenty. He's been in the playoffs last year. I can't judge the Memphis series. He had to work hard here in the Denver series. I got to see, and yes, he was such a blowout. I can't get a read on it. Game 2 was such a blowout. I can't get a read on it. I got to see a little more. I'll see it in this series, but I would take SGA. It's a good question.
Well, I just think that he seems like he wants it more. I really have an issue still from Anthony Edwards saying he doesn't want to be the face of the league. To me, it's like, then why are you playing? I don't love that. I don't love that energy. And I just love the fact that
with greatness comes some responsibility. I know. I'm not sure. I mean, and plus the fact he doesn't know anybody. He's never heard of Larry Bird, which drives you crazy. He wouldn't know Moses Malone if you fell on him, which drives you crazy because he said some, crazy things about the older player, which drives me crazy. But listen, he's a tremendous offensive player. He's an excellent, he's a good clutch, he's a good closer. I mean, last year he got a little outshined by Luka. That will be an interesting matchup with those two. I think Brunson and Haliburton. That would be the other combination of people will look at. But Indiana's got 3 point guards. Nebhard and O'Connell, they have other guys. Brunson, if he doesn't play well, the Knicks can't win. Indiana's got a couple of other ways they can beat you in the backcourt. But Brunson is better than Haliburton. But if he's off, I'm not sure what plan B would be. I think that SGA and Brunson are the 2 better point guards in the Final Four. But I do think the backup contingency for Indiana, part 2, is better than what the Knicks have, which then will make it a more interesting series. And that's a hell of a series. I think OKC will definitely win. I think Pacers-Knicks, I'm giving the edge to the Knicks because of home court. But I would not be shocked if Indiana won. I'd be pretty surprised if Minnesota won.
And then who takes it all then?
I think OKC right now is the best team.
All right.
I think getting out of this Denver series, the way they got out of it, will help them, Suzy, here down the road. I think it put a little toughness in them. I think they faced a limit. They had to play an elimination game. They do have home court. I think their alley-oop deal is great with Hartenstein and, of course, with Holmgren. I think that will help Oklahoma City in the long run, having this rough second round.
What's your favorite memory of the Knicks-Pacers series when it was Reggie Miller staring down Spike Lee?
I think that Game 7, the year the Knicks got to the final in '94, I went to Game 6. That's when the Knicks beat Indiana in Indiana down 3-2 after Reggie's 25-point third quarter. I went to Game 6 at the Old Market Square Arena. Miller did nothing in the game, and Derek Harper played great. Knicks won by 4. And then Game 7, that great game, Larry Brown coaching Indiana. That's Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Final. Ewing had 22 rebounds. He stood up on a scorer's table. That was a tremendous game, that Game 7. So that game to me, when they played, now listen, the finger roll that Ewing missed, Indiana still had to play They still had to play Orlando to get to the finals. The Knicks, when they beat him in six, that was good, but they got murdered by San Antonio. The following year, Indiana got through that series and they got beat by the Lakers. I like the first one in '94. Knicks probably should have won the NBA championship that year. Should have beaten Houston. That's the OJ year with the Bronco. Game 5, 2-all. And then the Knicks ended up winning that game. That to me, that seventh game was a great game. I like that the best. Now, listen, Ewing missed the finger roll, game 7. That was tremendous. That was the following year. Riley's ever last game coaching the Knicks before he went to Miami. We know about the whole thing with Knicks-Pacers, Bird against the Knicks. They split the two series. But for whatever the reason, that first time they played in 7, I love that game. Love the game.
How do you remember this? This is so insane to me. It's like having an encyclopedia here.
Well, remember, Susie, I was here. I was doing radio in New York. I was at all the games. I traveled to all the games. I was not at Game 7, the game I just explained, because the Rangers were playing the Rangers were playing Vancouver. So I went right from Indianapolis and I flew to Game 6 in Vancouver. No, it was Game 3. Flew Game 3, Vancouver, Canucks, Rangers, when the Rangers won there. See, in '94, the Rangers were a far bigger story than the Knicks because the Rangers hadn't won in 50 years.
Yes.
So the Rangers, they both got to the final. The Rockets beat the Knicks in 7, but the Rangers were the story in New York City. I know it's hard to believe now. The Knicks were not the big story. They were a big story, but not like the Rangers.
No, I remember that because I remember that. 90s, I remember that because that was the year I graduated from school, and I was flying to Boston from LaGuardia, and I recognized Dan Shaughnessy from his caricature from the Boston Globe because he was covering the Rangers Stanley Cup. So I walked up to him and said, "Hi, I'm Suzy Shuster. I'm graduating, blah blah blah." And that was how I got my start in journalism, because I recognized Dan from his caricature. I think I'm like, it's either Bill Walton or it's Dan Shaughnessy. I don't know which one it is because they kind of look the same at the time. And that was like, that's why you said Rangers '94. I'm like, that was basically my entree into this whole world, was because I recognized him from his caricature. So yes,
well, the Rangers that year won the President's Cup. They were down 3-2 to the Devils. Messier said, "I guarantee we're going to win Game 6." Then he goes out and gets 3 goals. And then the Rangers had to play a 7-game series against Vancouver. I know this sounds crazy, and I wasn't in the Pirate locker room in '91 when Sid Bream scored the game-winning run, and the Pirates blew the 2-0 ninth-inning lead in Game 7 against the Braves. But the most devastating locker room that I've seen in my lifetime, doing this for 45 years, was the Devils in Game 7 against the Rangers in '94. They lost in double overtime on the Matogo goal. It was a weird goal. The Devils tied it up late in the third period in Game 7. They lost 2-1. Everybody felt that the winner of that game was going to win the Stanley Cup. That's the most devastating locker room I've ever seen in sports, in a spot, and that was Game 7. The Rangers' run in those 2 7-game series are a huge deal in New York history because of the distance between the previous title. The Knicks, this run is fascinating. And here's what I would say about the Knicks fan going crazy on Friday night. Guys, it's a conference final. You didn't win the NBA championship. I mean, the people running on 7th Avenue on Friday night, take it easy. I mean, the Knicks I know it's been a while, but the Knicks
so
have been
hungry.
In the conference finals.
Yeah,
take it easy.
They're dying.
You didn't win the NBA championship.
Yeah, I mean, they are acting like, I have to say, that is so true. And I'm not saying that because I'm from Boston, and I know that Chris is over there basically just trying to bite his tongue because he's so bitter and upset about what happened with Boston. But it was a little early. It's a little premature for the celebration.
But a little. Take it easy. Jeez. I mean, you beat a wounded Celtic team. Give yourself credit. Great job. But come on. Take it. Now, the one thing I would say about the Knicks fans, Susan, and you know that, unlike the Yankees and the Mets, the Met fan, if the Yankees go to the World Series, the Met fan's not going to root for the Yankees. Yankees aren't going to root for the Mets. Jets are not going to root for the Giants, vice versa. The Devil and Islander fan are not going to root for the other team. There's no Nets fans. They are the worst. Nobody cares about the Nets in New York. Nobody. So everybody who follows basketball likes the Knicks because the Nets have no impact whatsoever. So that they unify better than any of the other teams here because the other teams have there's too many teams in each sport, and then the team's fans don't like each other. The Knicks fan doesn't care about Brooklyn. The Brooklyn fan kind of likes the Knicks. So from that standpoint, it's a unification deal, but way over the top on Friday night. Way over the top.
You brought up the Yankees Mets, so I'll head over there right now. First of all, I saw a shot of Juan Soto standing there talking to Aaron Judge, and you forget about just how giant Aaron Judge is until you see Soto next to him. You think about how much money that is, and it's so crazy to think about. But I was watching the game with Cooper, our son, who's a total just Yankees. I mean, just homer. Rich has really got him in there. So I lost the Red Sox. I got the Celtics. But that said, what are your thoughts on that series? Because there was so much build up in advance, and all the jerseys and all the T-shirts, and just going after Soto for being a Yankee trader. What was your thoughts on watching that series go down the way they did?
I think this Soto is a Yankee trader thing is a bunch of freaking unbelievable nonsense. He was there for 1 year. Every Yankee fan in America who knows anything about Soto knew that re-signing him was not going to be easy. They also knew that Cohen had more money than anybody. And if he went to the Mets, he went to the Mets. This is not Aaron Judge, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, who left after 15 years to go somewhere else. This is Soto, who would play on the moon if it was $5 more. That's just the way it is. He's a mercenary, and I don't begrudge him that. But and now at the end of the day, maybe he'll be a Met if he goes to the Hall of Fame. But he was on Washington, he was on San Diego, he was on the Yankees. No Yankee fan should be floored that somehow Soto decided to go somewhere else. Plus, Soto is a big reason why the Yankees got by a very bad group of teams, but a big reason why Soto got to the World, helped them get to the World Series anyway. Game 5, that home run, he had a great postseason. So the idea that the Yankee fan now feels betrayed, that is a bunch of garbage. Throw in the idea that half that building last night's Mets fans, and on Friday night, and on Saturday night. So the idea that he was walking into enemy territory, I know that building's, both of them, better than anybody. There was as many Met fans there last night as there were Yankee fans, for crying out loud. Not as many, but you get the idea. So the idea that somehow he was walking into a walking cauldron of hatred, if that was the case, it's stupid because he was there for 1 year, and I don't buy it anyway, for that matter. I saw the 3 games. I saw a lot of at-bats. I saw the first at-bat on Friday night. I didn't get the idea that somehow, some way, this is something historically bad. I was there when Bonds came in with the Giants on a Friday night when he was the steroid guy. They booed him a lot worse than they booed Soto. So I thought myself it was a little overblown. And, the Yankees do it. The Yankees have done a good job spending their money. Here's the thing I'm going to say about the Mets. The Mets are a horrific defensive team. Alonso's not a good defensive first baseman. The whole world knows that. Vientos at third base is not Brooks Robinson. The whole world knows that. Soto is a terrible defensive right fielder, and he's not a good base runner. He's a sublime hitter, but he's not a good outfielder, and he's not a good base runner. So the Mets have a problem in right field. Jeff McNeil is playing center field last night. He's not Willie Mays. And Nemo is not a great left fielder. They're pretty good middle of the infield with Pena and with Acuna and Lindor, but the Mets are not a good defensive team. And that could hurt them in big series down the road. But that's what I took out of that series. And, of course, the Yankees have done a pretty good job. Goldschmidt's been good. Grissom's been good. Judge has been unworldly-like. Fried's done a great job. Rodon has actually pitched better than normal. The Yankees have, and that division is not that good. So the Yankees have done a good job in the American League East.
You mentioned Max Fried. I saw this great stat. Lowest ERA in the first 10 starts for Yankees since numbers were recorded in 1913. Phil Niekro, 1984, 1.20. Max Fried, 1.29. Allie Reynolds, 1952. You don't get a lot of Allie Reynolds mentions in here.
Yeah.
With 130. I mean, listen, I try to give some stats. Try to bring some knowledge behind all of this vitriol. But, Max Fried is pitching his head off. And
not only that, he's done a great job because he's had pressure on him because Cole's out. I mean, so he was going to be Robin to Cole's Batman, and then he had to become Batman, transform himself. He has done a tremendous job. Everybody moaned and groaned about giving him too much money, $210 million. That's the going rate for a starting pitcher. That was a godsend for the Yankees. Now, Rondon is a terrible contract. I know he's pitched better. I wouldn't trust him in a big spot if my life depended on it. Last year, Game 2, Dodgers World Series is all you need to know about that. But Fried pitched in the World Series. He won Game 6 against the Astros to win the title in 2000 and whatever year it was, 20 or 21? 21. So I have faith in him in a big spot. And that was a good, let's give Cashman, I know he's got a lot of resources. He's done a great job. I mean, Goldschmidt was a tremendous find. Chisholm, good find. Obviously, Fried, excellent signing.
Bellinger.
Luke Weaver,
Bellinger.
excellent sign. Bellinger has done a good job. He's done a good job of putting the pieces together. Yankees are going to win that division. Are they a great team? No. But the American League, I don't know if you believe in Detroit. The Yankees they've done a hell of a job. So let's give the Yankees some credit putting that team together.
Chris, what's the weirdest story you've ever covered? I'm just thinking as you go over all these years of history, like what's the story that you're like, I can't believe I'm covering
Probably
this?
Deflategate.
Yeah.
The football scenario is crazy. Now, here is something, I was really down on Brady for that. Everybody else was down on Goodell for giving the 4-game suspension. I had Fred Jackson on in that Super Bowl in Phoenix. Okay, that's when he beat Seattle, and he was still the talk of the town. Fred Jackson, running back of the Bills, on the radio said, Chris, he didn't say Chris. He said, let me tell you something. If anybody thinks a deflated football is not an advantage, you're crazy. It's much easier not to fumble with a deflated football than it is when it's deflated. And I took that to meaning that Brady got himself an undue advantage. If he would have handled that differently, it wouldn't have been a big deal. They would have given him a fine. That's the end of it. I think the Spygate thing made it difficult for the commissioner because of all the juice with the owners giving him grief that the Patriots got off scot-free. But that Deflategate thing on top of Spygate, Brady, Belichick, the Patriot organization, they always win. I thought that was the weirdest one we ever had to cover. That one was strange.
Yeah. Well, this Belichick story gets stranger by the day, too. So I'm going to add that to the list.
And Michael Strahan was not Mike Wallace on Friday on Good Morning America, I might add. Go ahead.
I missed it. What happened?
Oh, God, you missed nothing. One of the most awkward interviews I've ever seen in my life. What ABC did there, ABC gave carte blanche to Belichick. Bill, we want you on. You tell us what questions you want to ask. And
you can't do that.
Horrific. 100%. ABC was horrific. That essentially they sold their journalism chops to make sure Belichick, as he was in the news, was on the air. That was a horrific job by a worthy news organization. And then they put Strahan in a tough spot because we all know Strahan is, again, he's not Mike Wallace. He's an ex-football player. No knock against Strahan, but that's an impossible situation. One of his old coaching brethren, he's not going to put him on the spot. And if you're going to have Belichick on the air in that situation, you got to ask him about Malcolm Butler. You got to ask him about not Bob Kraft in your book. You got to ask him about how it ended with New England. You got to ask him why somehow he didn't get the Atlanta job 2 years ago. There's so many things you got to ask him, and they asked him nothing. It was oh my God, it was bad. Anyway, that was a strange one the other day.
I love it when you get wound up. It makes me so very happy. Chris,
you got me warmed up for 3 o'clock.
Listen, I mean, honest to God, it just makes me so happy. It's like you're my favorite person to call because oftentimes if I don't have time to get ready, I can just ask you one question and we get through like the entire segment. It's fantastic.
And I can give you some stuff. I'm also down on the horse Sovereignty, who didn't run into Preakness. I got Mike McCarthy on today, the trainer of journalism. What a job he did getting that horse to run in that race. I will do that. I'll be all over today. I'll be flying.
You always are. Thanks again for your time and thanks for taking the call. Have fun. Keep your head down. All right, let's take. He's just a legend, and I love him.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.